In the first part we witnessed Ijen, a mercenary, make his way to the educational institution. The initial segment wrapped up with Seokju and Yunishin delving into Ijen and his sibling Daeun. In case you missed part 1, it's located immediately above. Yuna is on the verge of revealing to Daeun that she is in her brother's class. She queries him as to how this could be, considering she believed she had no family left. Daeun responds that she too believed he was deceased until she discovered through her grandfather that he was still alive 6 months prior. Yuna then inquires why he didn't reach out sooner, to which Daeun explains that he had suffered amnesia following an accident and only recently regained his memories. Yuna asks Daeun right away if Ijen is really her older brother. Daeun says their grandpa knew him and they did a DNA test. Daeun wonders why Yuna wants to know. Meanwhile, Ijen and Seokju are still talking. Ijen asks Seokju why he's looking into him and wants proof. Staying calm, Seokju starts to wonder about Ijen's behavior, but still thinks if Ijen lies, he will keep investigating. Ijen is surprised that the students who just got there 2 days ago know so much about him. Seokju and Yuna also found out that Daeun was bullied by Jisoo and Hyujin for 2 years, and Ijen was protecting his sister. Yuna thinks it's strange and feels like she's in a comic book, but also thinks that if Ijen wanted to hurt her, he wouldn't draw attention to himself. Yuna thinks maybe Ijen is there to hurt Daeun, because they got a lot of money after their parents died. Later, Daeun asks Ijen about what happened after the accident. Ijen says he was busy and they had dinner at home with their grandpa. Daeun says she has to go. Yuna called her because they were friends. Ijen starts to suspect and goes to investigate the SW company to find out why they're looking into him. Daeun talks to Yuna, who came to talk because Seokju showed her all the evidence. Students say they never saw Ijen at school, and he didn't live at the address given. Yuna wants to tell Daeun everything because she's his friend, but she sees Daeun is happy with Ijen. On the other hand, Ijen wants to see what Daeun and Yuna are doing, but Seokju stops him. Seokju thinks Ijen wants to make sure Yuna doesn't find out the truth about him. They get hit by a car and some men kidnap Daeun and Yuna. Ijen and Seokju fight and both wonder where they took them. They both thought the other one kidnapped them. From Ijen's reaction, Seokju starts to think he has nothing to do with the kidnapping. Seokju tells Ijen that guards from the SW company are searching for them. Ijen says they will look for Yuna instead of Daeun, and asks the mafia boss for information on the kidnapping. The boss says he has no knowledge, but heard about people searching for empty warehouses and equipment. Ijen gets a motorcycle from the boss and goes to look, with Seokju following in a car. A mysterious woman hears about Yuna's abduction and mentions her grandfather and an unknown project. She seems pleased at Yuna's disappearance. Daeun and Yuna wake up to find their kidnappers telling them to stay quiet. Yuna thinks they want to blackmail her grandfather or the SW company, but the kidnappers threaten to get rid of Daeun. Yuna warns them not to harm her, or she will bite her tongue and die. The kidnapper doesn't believe Yuna, but suddenly blood comes out of her mouth and they leave Daeun alone. Ijen and Seokju arrive at the location. Seokju wants to wait for help, but Ijen knows time is important for Daeun and starts to defeat the guards one by one without being seen. Seokju is amazed by Ijen's strength. Meanwhile, someone from the SW company says the kidnappers have made their demands. The kidnappers want a project to be stopped. A man, who might be Yuna's grandfather, says a security team will be there in an hour, but the kidnappers will kill Yuna in 1 hour if the project isn't stopped. Meanwhile, Ijen and Seokju continue to fight the guards secretly. Ijen has defeated 9 guards, while Seokju has defeated 5. 2 more men arrive and when they notice the guards are gone, Ijen knocks them out, but they make noise, so Ijen and Seokju separate. Seokju promises to apologize to Ijen when everything is over, since he initially suspected Ijen. Ijen fights 4 guards and beats them. Seokju finds the girls and tries to free them, but the leader of the kidnappers arrives. Seokju fights the deputy leader, but gets wounded with a knife. Despite being hurt, he protects Yuna by taking the knife meant for Daeun. When Ijen arrives, he fights the man with the knife and quickly disarms him. He tells Daeun to close her eyes, then takes the knife and attacks the man with it. Seokju realizes he didn't just hit the kidnapper randomly. He cut his ligaments so he couldn't move. The leader of the kidnappers then fights with Ijen. He is amazed by Ijen's strength, who is stronger even without a gun. The kidnapper pulls out a gun, but Ijen reacts quickly and throws a knife in his shoulder. The kidnapper ends up on the ground. Ijen kindly tells his sister to open her eyes and smiles. Dayan cries while Yuna is stunned by Ijen. The next day, Ijen waits for his sister outside the hospital. Yuna suggested they take Dayan there, as she may have both physical and mental injuries. Ijen is okay, only with minor wounds. Yuna visits them at the hospital and pays for all the expenses. They also go see Sikju together. When Ijen and Dayan leave, they talk about Ijen and what he did the night before. He fought and defeated more than 10 men without being seen, including skilled soldiers. The guard says he's a professional fighter who was trained intensively. There's a touching moment between Ijen and Dayan. She apologizes for causing him problems, but he thanks her and says she showed him what a real family is. A mysterious woman they met earlier talks about Sikju and thinks he's the one who defeated the guards, but a guard tells her it was actually Ijen, not Sikju, who rescued the girl. The woman is surprised when she hears that even the company president is interested in Ijen. She realizes it must be true because he and Yuna have the same grandfather. Meanwhile, Ijen and Dayan are back at home quietly. Dayan tells Ijen not to worry. She says that if seeing him fight upsets her, it's okay, and she won't ask any more questions about his life overseas. She also mentions not telling Ijen about her stalker. Then, Yuna calls Dayan and asks to see Ijen. They meet at a terrace with many guards around. Yuna apologizes again, but Ijen says she's already done so. Ijen is still a bit suspicious. Yuna explains she investigated him because his documents were fake. Ijen says if that's all, he's leaving, but Yuna asks for more time, as her grandfather wants to meet him in person. On the way back home, Ijen runs into one of the mobster's men, who is badly hurt. The man blames Ijen for getting involved in someone else's business. On the other hand, the mafia chief is facing many people seeking revenge for what he did to the deputy and the mobster who kidnapped Yuna. Misidentified as the target, Ijen is rushed by many men, but he successfully fends them off. Recognizing the overwhelming odds, Mobster knows this will be his last stand until Ijen intervenes and starts taking down the attackers with ease, exhibiting his strength. Despite the boss's efforts to escape, he takes more and more hits and appears to be reaching his limit. The enemies of the boss hear a commotion and turn to see Ijen. The boss asks Ijen why he's there, to which he replies that he came to return a motorcycle. The enemies order their men to kill Ijen, but the boss intervenes and declares that only Ijen will decide who lives and dies. They engage in another fight, with Ijen taking care of the men, while the boss tackles their leaders. At the end of the battle, everyone is on the ground, defeated by Ijen and the boss. Ijen declares that they are now even. The next day, the boss and his guard are in the hospital, recounting how Ijen saved them. Later, Ijen is seen playing soccer with his friends, taking the ball in hand and appearing to be playing poorly. Ijen's friends suggest he come play at the cyber cafe after school. Ijen tells them to go ahead, and that he'll join them after taking his sister home. As they talk, the mysterious woman from before calls Ijen and Dayan, claiming to be Yuna's cousin. She offers to have dinner together, but Ijen ignores her completely. Meanwhile, at the cyber cafe, Yang Chan gets into a fight with another student. His friend in an orange coat pushes him away and tells him to leave. The other student leaves but returns later with his high school team, and a fight breaks out outside. Ijen's friends put up a strong defense. Even Yang Chan joins the fight despite being scared, and they manage to beat the thugs. Ijen arrives but doesn't find them. When they come back, they tell Ijen he missed their fight, but upon returning to the cyber cafe, they find all the other students from the other school knocked out. Ijen explains they actually attacked him when they saw his uniform, so he defends himself and shocks his friends. They all have a good time together, and Yang Chan's situation brings back memories to Ijen. He recalls a time when some soldiers tried to steal his food, but he fought them all and became stronger over time. Meanwhile, Yuna visits her cousin Jai, who is angry and investigating Ijen. Jai offers to find out who Ijen really is, but Yuna declines, grateful that Ijen saved her. Jai receives a call from a high-ranking person about Ijen, but is told to stop investigating, and that SW company need not worry about him. Later, the CEO of SW apologizes to Ijen and offers him the role of Yuna's bodyguard, but Ijen declines, stating he is just an ordinary high school student. The CEO explains that Seokju has stepped down, feeling unworthy of the role, but Ijen declines the offer to become Yuna's bodyguard, saying he's just an ordinary high school student. However, the president reveals the real reason behind his visit to thank Ijen for a mission he undertook 3 years ago. Ijen is taken aback when he learns that his actions allowed the president to spend time with his son during his final moments. Although Ijen considers it a simple mission, the president reveals that nobody else was willing to take on the risky task, and his son often spoke highly of Ijen. It dawns on Ijen that the son the president is referring to is Yuna's father. Ijen tells the president that he can't provide full protection, but won't remain indifferent if Yuna is in danger. The president says this is more than enough and asks Ijen's opinion on the guards, who have become arrogant. Ijen sighs. Then later in class he recalls a past mission escorting the president's son and father to a poor village for construction work. Yuna's father cared for Ijen and reminded him of his own daughter. Later, Ijen learns that the man was kidnapped and went to save him, but unfortunately he was already dead. Meanwhile, Yuna invites Ijen, thinking he would decline. But in the end he accepts. One of the guards informs Jai that Ijen will be joining them. A flashback shows the CEO telling Ijen to spend time with the team and give his thoughts. Later, Ijen is seen changing in the locker room. Seokju comments that it's not like him, but Ijen says he wants to try being a bodyguard. Seokju explains that Ijen will be following Team 2, while he is on Team 3, responsible for Yuna's security. The training begins. Others are tired, while Ijen has not too much difficulty. Everybody is shocked to see the difference of level. One guard challenges Ijen to a fight to test him, and Ijen accepts. The guard is cautious, knowing Ijen's background in the special forces, but Ijen easily dodges and takes him down. Another guard also challenges Ijen, who proves to be a match for the strongest of the two teams. Everyone is sure that now the fight will be one-sided, and when the fight starts they exchange blows. They are about the same level, but Ijen attacks his knee with one blow, and then he manages to put another blow in his throat, and the man falls. Everyone is still amazed at the level of Ijen. He even offers to fight again, but no one takes him up on the challenge. Jai steps in, informing him that his skills make him a fit for Team 2. The serious work begins and he must now shadow her movements. He dons his outfit and exudes an impressive charisma. During his observation of the bodyguards, Jai tries to make conversation, but Ijen remains quiet and simply mentions that he's new to the bodyguard role and honed his skills in his old neighborhood. Nevertheless, he performs his duties flawlessly, remaining still for hours on end. On their way back, a drunk driver causes an accident, but Ijen reacts quickly to protect Jai. Ijen and Dayan talk about visiting their grandfather at his workplace, the hospital. They help their grandfather with the garbage, and when they leave the hospital, the mafia boss recognizes Ijen's grandfather. The boss is shocked to see Ijen smile for the first time and thinks he never knew Ijen could be like that. Ijen continues to train with different bodyguard teams and discusses his position as Yuna's bodyguard with Seokju. However, Ijen reveals that he is not an official bodyguard, but rather just helping due to his talent. He no longer wants the job after Yuna was kidnapped because of his incompetence. Yuna invites Ijen to join her for a meal as he guards her, but asks him not to be formal like her cousin. Yuna is not employed and just wants him to act naturally around her. She speaks to him in a friendly manner, which impresses Seokju as he rarely sees her like that with others. Ijen recalls memories of his father while he is with Yuna, reflecting on his mission where he was the only one to go. He remembers his father telling him to leave him behind because he didn't have much time left. He then asks Yuna for a private conversation and Seokju leaves. Ijen reveals his father's name, Inguk, and inquires about him. Yuna explains that her father was often away on trips, and they were not close, adding that he had an illness. Ijen recalls her father, Inguk, explaining the reason behind his trips to help others. Inguk said he had to help the poor children, so he could see his daughter's face again. Yuna knew about Inguk's condition and went to see him, but he passed away. Ijen tells Yuna that his father wanted to see her before he died and expresses regret for not being able to fulfill his father's wish. Inguk asked Ijen to tell Yuna face to face what his mission was, but Ijen didn't understand the urgency. Ijen now shares with Yuna that his father's mission for him was to convey to her that he tried to see her before he died, But now, it all makes sense. Inguk didn't do it for himself. He wanted to save Ijen from his struggles. Ijen was one of the people that Inguk could not abandon. Ijen then informs Yuna that he can't reveal anymore and departs. How will Yuna react knowing that Ijen knew her father? Can Ijen keep his mercenary background a secret? And why is Jai always so enigmatic with Ijen and Yuna? The answer to these questions will be revealed in the upcoming video. I thank you for all the support so far. By the way, if you like the video, tell me in comments and subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes which are coming soon.